My entitled mother tries to force my barber to shave my beard off that I've spent weeks growing out, all without me knowing, simply because she didn't like it. And when I found out, I was absolutely furious. Here's what happened. This story happened in high school when I finally was able to grow a decent enough beard. I loved it and it made me feel more powerful and confident. On the contrary, my mom hated it though. Anytime I would talk to her, she was always bringing up how I should just get rid of it. She would say stuff like, "You were so much more handsome clean shaven. You just really let yourself go." She would also make snide remarks saying stuff like, "You look homeless. Did you even take a shower?" Claiming that I look like a hippie. She would even try and rationalize it with me to try and get me to shave it no matter what. She would say stuff like, "You should try a mustache." But I don't want to because I'm happy with my beard. I think the reasoning for my mom acting so weird is because my twin cannot grow facial hair, and he is my mom's favorite, so me having a beard is kind of upstaging him. She would say stuff like, "Please just shave. It's making him self-conscious at school." And I would always refuse and just say, "No way, I'm not doing that." She would then say, "You're so rude. Just do this one thing for him." And I'm thinking to myself, I do enough for him already. What are you talking about? She then comes back at me by saying, "Whatever. I want you shaving for graduation and when you get a job." And conversations like this happen over and over again. On the same day that that conversation happened, while at dinner, I told my dad what she told me and he was upset. My dad likes me more than my brother because I'm less whiny and I'm more athletic, and he thinks that a man's first beard is great. With all that in mind, cut to a few weeks later, and my beard is relatively long and so is my hair. So I decided to go to the barber's for a trim, and when my mom heard this, she got really excited and even offered to drive me there. On the way there, she kept telling me about all the styles to try, like a buzz cut or a side sweep, and those were all hairstyles that she made us have when we were kids. And then she said, "Why don't you try to shave or try a new style with a mustache out there or something?" I looked at her and I said, "No, I am never shaving my beard." But she didn't take me seriously and she just kind of brushed me off. When we get there, strangely enough, I see my grandpa sitting in the barber shop as well. For a little background, my grandfather is a veteran and he believes every boy should be disciplined, join the army, and be clean shaven and have short hair. In fact, in the past, he would come over to the house, hand me a razor, and tell me to shave. Also, when we were younger, he was our barber, so he did what he pleased with our hair, despite what we did or did not want. So we go in, we sit down, and eventually it's my turn to get my haircut. And as I'm sitting down to turn to talk to my barber and tell him what I want done with my hair, my entitled mother flags him over and walks into another room with him just to talk with him in private. And I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. Eventually, my mom and the barber comes out of this back room and he comes to me and says, "Wow, I never thought you were going to shave anytime soon." When he said this, I was so confused and shocked. I asked him what he meant. And then he told me that my mom said to him that I wanted to shave my beard and that I wanted to have short hair because I hated it now apparently, which is absolutely not true. He also said that they tried to bribe him and give him $20 to do it. I was so shocked and speechless that I could not even think straight. I tell him that's not at all what I asked for, and he just laughs and gives me a nice trim, thankfully. When we were done and when we got back in the car, and once my mom found out that I knew she tried to bribe the barber just to try and shave off my beard, she was livid. But I was just as angry, and I shut her down for trying to do something like that to me. And as a result of that conversation, I ended up getting grounded. When we got home, I told my dad what happened, and when mom was confronted, she denied it, and only until I told my dad that I was grounded did she finally fess up to it. And then eventually, the subject just kind of got dropped. Thankfully, I was able to keep my beard, and all these years later, I grow it out and I shave it as much as I like, because it's my facial hair, it's my body, and no one's gonna tell me what I can and cannot do with it. That is really unfair the way the mom tried to bribe a barber just to try and shave the original poster's beard against their will. will. Like, what are they gonna do? Try and hold him down and get that done? That's ridiculous. Good on the barber for having some integrity and saying, no, I'm definitely not gonna do that. Because acting like that is just inappropriate. I really don't think there's anything wrong with trying to grow out your hair and try something new. It's really, really offensive for someone to try and force their will on you, especially when it comes to hair. This original poster obviously had some attachment to his beard, so he's not just gonna go off and start shaving it just because his mom doesn't like it. And I also think it's funny that the mom tried to get the veteran grandfather in on this to try and convince this kid to shave his beard and to continue an appearance that he probably had forced on him ever since he was a kid. So thankfully things worked out, and now they can style their facial hair however they want, whenever they want. I was duped by a scammer, and now I'm afraid my wife is going to leave me. A few years ago, while my wife of 9 years was out of town, I received a text message at 3 in the morning saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know that your wife is cheating on you. And this was someone who was claiming to be the wife of the guy that she was apparently cheating with. She said that they were on a break at the time, so she wasn't too upset with him. But once she found out that my wife was married, she wanted to let me know to give me a warning. She said he was a contractor and named several cities nearby that he worked in. This person said that they weren't sure how they met, but that she found my wife's phone number on his Google account, and when she searched it, our names came up. So I searched the number that she had, and lo and behold, our names did in fact come up. I'll say now that my wife and I have had problems over the last couple of years. I love her more than anything. I know she loves me too, but she has admitted that she's not really in love with me, at least not the way she used to be. She's brought up divorce a few times, but I know that's not what either of us really want. We just want to be happy together like we used to be. I know that she needs more from me, and I've been working really hard to show her that I'm the man that she's always dreamed about. My insecurities got the best of me, and I started to wonder if there was any truth to it. I love my wife so much, and I've always trusted her 100%, but hearing all of this was really taking a toll on me. I started shaking and my heart rate jumped, and it stayed this way for the next 12 hours. I continued talking to this woman on the phone, and she was giving me details and dates of when my wife and her husband had met up, as well as places they had been together. I tried to cross-reference the dates between our calendars and my text messages, but because of my wife's job, she often works late and travels out of town. Personally, I have a terrible memory, and in the mental state I was in, I just couldn't make myself sure that it was lies, that all of this was made up. This woman wanted to talk on the phone because she was scared that her husband would find the text messages somehow. I agreed, and then I called her. Now, I've dealt with scammers quite a bit. I have heard of millions of scams and read about them frequently online. I'm always the person that can jump in and say, oh, that sounds like an absolute scam. But this woman sounded totally normal, and it felt like she could be local to my area. We talked for about 20 minutes, and she sounded concerned and gave me more details, but nothing that I could 100% confirm. She never brought up anything that would make me feel like it was a scam. This lady went on to say that he and my wife had met up in an apartment and that there was a toddler there the same age as our toddler. She wouldn't give me his information besides a first name and a few numbers from his phone number, just so I could check her contacts. She did send me 2 pictures of herself and her husband together. After that phone call, I did not sleep at all that night. I didn't know what to think, and I couldn't get myself to calm down. I didn't want to believe that my whole life was over. I didn't want to think that this person that I loved and trusted more than anything could do this terrible thing to me. But I didn't know why somebody would message all these things and call me. I definitely considered that it could be a scam, or possibly someone from mine or my wife's past that wanted to hurt us and break us apart. My wife continued texting me into the next day, and this would be the day that my wife came back from out of town. As a side note, my wife and I have been on hard financial times, for a while at least, and we've been living with her parents. It's not ideal and causes a lot of stress for both of us. When my wife got home, she came down to our bedroom and asked her mom to watch our toddler for a little bit. I held up a picture of the guy the woman accused her of sleeping with and asked if my wife knew who it was. I looked into her eyes and she was confused. She had no idea who this was. I knew in that moment that none of it was true. I broke down crying, and she just kept asking what was going on. I told her, and she was concerned that someone had gotten her information somehow and was trying to do something to her to ruin her business. I called the number that the woman had given me, and another woman answered and screamed at me, saying that this was harassment and that she was going to file a suit if I didn't leave her alone. Not even 2 minutes later, the police showed up. They had received a call that I was somehow in danger and that they were coming by to do a wellness check. Of course, this threw everything into overdrive. Now we had to explain to her family what was going on, and I made everything 100 times worse. The police took turns talking to me and my wife, both of us assuring them that nothing was wrong and that I was not in danger. It turns out that the number was the wrong area code, but otherwise the exact number for the original landline for my wife's family house, and that's why their names were connected. Eventually, everything kind of calmed down, but things are not okay between my wife and I. She read through the messages and thinks it was an obvious scam of some kind. She's really upset that I don't trust her, and she blames herself for that because of the problems that we've had. I can tell she's trying to act normal, but every time I've tried to give her a kiss or get close to her, I can feel that she really is not involved. I feel like this is a nightmare that I can't wake up from. Our marriage was on a really positive trajectory, and things were getting so much better, and now I feel like there's no hope. I wish I knew what I could say to make up for this, and to let my wife know that I love her and that I trust her 100%. I wish there was some way I could fix this, or to at least go back in time and not be such an idiot. I don't know what I did to deserve this. I wish whoever did this could feel the pain I'm in now and know the damage and the hurt that they caused our family. What should I do? This is honestly a really sketchy situation, because either your wife really is cheating on you, or she's a fantastic actress and was able to pull it off completely even when the cops were called. And I also don't know how much of a scam this really is. There was a lot of really specific details about your wife and where she's going, as well as like details about her life that this person really knew a lot about. And sure, maybe there is someone out there that's trying to ruin your life, but sometimes the simplest solution is really the answer. Maybe that's not this case, I could be wrong, but it all just seems really super specific. And they didn't even try and blackmail you for money or do something to try and extort you for cash or something. All they said was like, hey, your wife's cheating on you and this is who it's with. But in that same vein of thought, they still didn't give you any specifics. Like if this is really somebody who's looking out for you and trying to let you know, they would have been like, oh, it's such and such, here's their first and last name, as well as their address and phone number. Go get them. So this is just really weird overall. But also it begs the question of how these people reacted when you called them back. They freaked out on you and said they were going to try and file a suit for harassment. But then the phone records as well as the text messages would prove that they wanted to talk to you on the phone, which then leads me to believe that they probably did that so nothing would be written down that they said on the phone. But in all honesty, whether this is somebody really trying to warn you or someone just trying to ruin your life or somebody who didn't quite get to the point where they were trying to get money from you, all things considered, this is really ridiculous situation. Like for me personally, when someone texts me and says something absolutely random, I'm not about to believe them for a second. I want some serious hard evidence before I start jumping to conclusions. So going to your wife and saying, hey, are you cheating on me? And holding up a picture of some guy only for her to then look confused and be like, what are you talking about? Is honestly not the best way to figure out the truth. If I was seriously worried that my wife was cheating on me, I would have hired a private investigator to get a look and see what exactly is going on. There are services available to try and figure out if someone's doing something nefarious, especially if your spouse is having an affair or if you're worried that they are. You'll find out pretty quickly from these people. So yeah, you went about this in a really bad way in my opinion, all things considered, and this could have been handled in a much better and discreet way that didn't uproot your life completely. Hopefully things work out for you, but from the sounds of it, it does not look too good. I keep getting calls and text messages from strangers asking me why I blocked my ex-friend, and I'm honestly not sure what to do about it. I am 20 years old and I've begun getting text messages, calls, and direct messages from someone I do not know asking me why I blocked a now ex-friend out of nowhere. Prior to this, we had been friends for a little over 2 years. I blocked this ex-friend with no explanation to them after I realized how mean they were to me, since they were making fun of me whenever I considered changing my name to fit my gender identity, as well as told me they didn't think I'm autistic after my diagnosis. And they have tried on multiple occasions to put me in really terrible situations that I'm uncomfortable with. And you know what? After seeing that, and after I got busy with school and was off Snapchat for about 2 months, they unadded me on everything and began talking badly about me online. I decided to go all the way and just block them. Part of me feels guilty for never giving an explanation and for just walking away, but I'm also angry and uncomfortable that their response is to now hand out my phone number to all of their internet friends so that they can harass me with text messages and calls, demanding an answer as to why I blocked my friend without an explanation. But I find myself wanting to be petty. I want to give an actual answer. I want to ignore it. I want to cuss them out and block the number, but I just don't know what to do. I've talked with my therapist, and she said it's important that I put myself first, and you don't owe anyone any of your time. But I honestly still feel guilty about all of this. What should I do? In my opinion, as someone who has gone through something similar to this, your therapist is 100% correct. I've gone down the route of giving someone my time and explaining why I cut them out of my life. And guess what? It only made the situation worse. Do not give them any of your time. You don't have to explain anything. All of the people involved in this story are adults, and you know what? It's time for everybody to grow up. Block them and move on. You really will have a better life without them making fun of you behind your back. You don't need people like that, and people like that are not your friends. They don't care about you at all, and they are only in it just so they can make fun of you. After all, everything they're saying is at your expense. I mean, they removed you from Snapchat so you couldn't see their conversations, and they're just making fun of you. So I just wouldn't even waste your time. So when it comes to these phone calls and these text messages and these direct messages, I would just straight up block them and delete them and get rid of them. Eventually, these people will stop. They'll realize, hey, I'm not going to get an explanation, and they will eventually just give up and look for their next victim. So don't allow them to make you a victim. Move on and live a better life, because you're going to feel a lot better away from these terrible people. My husband has had an ongoing affair with his boss, but he refuses to find another job, and I'm unbelievably uncomfortable. And now I don't know what to do. To give some background information, my husband works for a construction company. His direct boss is a woman who we will call Sarah. That is not her real name. A little over a year ago, I found out that my husband was cheating on me with Sarah. I found mountains of evidence on his computer and on his phone. There were text messages of him calling her his girlfriend, talking about how in love with each other they are, as well as some inappropriate photos of her, and then some. They had been having a love affair behind my back for at least a year, likely longer. After reading the messages, it's clear that Sarah knew I existed, and that my husband and I had 2 daughters together. My husband hadn't told Sarah about my second pregnancy until close to the birth, but they still saw each other all the way up to the birth of my child. My husband is the breadwinner of our home. I am a stay-at-home mom with our 2 daughters, and this honestly puts me in a horrible position on what to do about this. Eventually, I confronted him about everything. He admitted it, said it was a mistake, and vowed to end things with Sarah. I ended up sending Sarah a pretty lengthy text message saying that she ruined my marriage and that what she did was a horrible thing to do to another woman. She never answered that message. I had asked my husband to find another job, but he refused, saying to me that the paycheck and the insurance benefits for our family were too good to pass up. I reluctantly agreed, as long as communication with Sarah was at a bare minimum, and that it was strictly professional, as she is technically his boss. Again, this was over a year ago. We have both worked hard to move past this, and things have been overall okay in our relationship. But recently, I've been noticing a similar pattern of behavior from my husband, involving things that he was doing in the time he was having an affair with Sarah. He would go in early, he would stay later than he put in his hours for. I've checked the phone records, and it seems he has been talking to her more than usual. I asked him about this, but he's denied anything is going on. He also says Sarah is in a relationship and has been living with this man for a year, and there is nothing happening between them any longer. I listened to my gut that told me something was off and called my company's office. I was told by the woman I spoke to that they don't involve themselves with the personal lives of their employees. Then she just hung up on me. My husband came home livid that day. The woman in the office called Sarah and told her. Sarah just laughed and ended up telling my husband that I called. My husband is now yelling at me, saying I overstepped, stating that nothing is going on between them. He's also mad because if anything were to happen, he would be the one to get fired based on Sarah's position at the company, and that her dad is the boss. Also, my husband's brother works for Sarah as well. He is very close friends with her, and he knew about my affair. My father-in-law is also an employee of Sarah. He also knew about the affair, as well as Sarah's dad. How do I get this woman out of our lives? How can I trust my husband again? Sarah is obviously not going anywhere, and I am so uncomfortable with them working together. I also have no evidence the cheating is still happening. What should I do? This is a crazy situation because I honestly can't believe that your husband is not taking the steps to find another job. If he really cared about you you and your kids, he would move away from the company where he cheated on you and go somewhere else. I genuinely don't care how good the pay is, or how much he makes, or how good the insurance benefits are. He cheated on you with his boss, and guess what? He still works for that boss. It's absolutely unbelievable. And in my opinion, the problem is not with Sarah. Sarah is a steaming pile of garbage, don't get me wrong, but please understand that the problem is with your husband. You clearly do not trust your husband. And if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't trust him at all either. He's repeating the same behavior as last time. He's going in early, he's staying out late. You have phone records of him talking to her more. This all literally lines up for when he cheated on you before. I totally understand why you're upset, but you need to focus your energy and anger at your husband. He has been unfaithful, and he's doing nothing to make sure you have some kind of confidence in him. And in my opinion, if this continues, I really don't know how your marriage is going to work out. Like, he's working there, his dad's working there, his brother's working there, and it seems like everybody knew about this cheating except for you. And that is just absolutely unbelievably unacceptable. So I think you need to put the full court press on your husband to get this woman out of your life. There's unfortunately not much you can do, but there is a lot your husband can do. And if he's not willing to take the steps to ensure that you're confident in your marriage, then that honestly is a really big red flag that you need to consider moving forward. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.